Hello, folks. Today I'm going to address a very important topic. So, I've been on the spiritual path for since I remember myself, since a young guy. My first initiation was at 14 years old. I have been apprenticed to a number of mentors. Some of them good, some of them bad, some of them truly genius. Some of them really good, but maybe not compatibility. Today I want to address the biggest problem of today's spirituality is a lack of connection with true tradition. For example, in Hinduism, there are so many paths. Brahmins fight tantrics. Some tantrics like to kid themselves that they are the friends of Brahmins. Some Brahmins like to kid themselves that they are the friends of tantrics. All kinds of paths and all kinds of mixtures. You have been born in a tradition that was sabotaged by Abrahamic faiths. Like, for example, you have been born as a Christian, but maybe your ancestors had a different path for thousands and thousands of years. It depends on you what you want to achieve. For sure, I am a guy of tradition, and I see now that indeed um, not all traditions are compatible with everyone. And there is no such thing as a pure tradition either, which is very highly correct. It's not about the purity of tradition. It's about the closest spiritual path to you is the path of the ancestors. Has that been preserved in today's modern world? Hell no. Western occultism is a mixture, a salad, an eclectic madness. And we can speak this about almost all the traditions there. Buddhism has a few branches too: Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana, Zen, Shingon, and whatnot. Obviously, they all departed from the teachings of Buddha in a way or the other. Shingon has very powerful magical practices. Has Buddha ever teach those magical practices? Or they were borrowed by shamanic culture? Yes, by shamanic culture, of course. So then why official religion adopts shamanic practices at all? Why not preserve the shamanic practices without the authority of a so-called official religion? Why corrupt the shamanic practices at all? But this is an organic transformation that happened in the entire world. The shamanic traditions, magical folkish traditions, which were actual the paths of the people, got absorbed into the bigger religions into one way or the other. Even the Vedics had before them a caste of priests called Vipra that people don't know about much. And they had a certain way to attain trance. Vipra guys. Do some research. It's very interesting. Very interesting. So, as I'm speaking here, and outside is raining and thundering very heavily, and behind me on the background here, you see the ancestral Hoya Bachu forest of my ancestors. That is one of the most magical forests in the world, full of spirits, full of transcendental events happening that are actually quite dangerous for the uninitiated. One of the most alive forests in the world. And I have chosen this as my background because I want you to understand the importance of connection with your folk tradition. Because if you come to me and say, I practice this tradition, but I feel a very strong pull towards my folkish background, That is your tradition. That is where you should thrive. And here I speak, if a guy from the African voodoo tradition listens to me, I would say, go and practice your path, man. Nice, very nice. You know, if a hoodoo guy or a brujeria guy or a tantric Srividya yogi wants to try something else, no, man. I do believe that the ancestral path is the most compatible. People ignore the compatibility too. You know, uh, if we like to look through an universalist lens at the world, we can project love and light and peace upon the world, but it's not the reality. This world is not governed by love, light, and peace. This world is governed by power, and power you can only find at your ancestors through power, under love, with balance, with equilibrium. So I would say, if you try to practice paths that are not yours, in the genes of your soul, the soul has its own genes of spiritual nature. Either you like it or not. Don't kid yourself. On the path, on the alien path you have tried to to go, you have encountered blockages. Look at me and be honest with yourself. Why do you think you have encountered blockages? If you're a Christian, why you don't feel to go to the church or speak with your priest? You know, your soul is lazy because it lacks the proper motivation that a true initiation gives. If you have a practice, how do you test that an initiation is valid? First of all, after the practice you do more of it. After the initiation you do more of it, and it gets more intense and more powerful, more intense and more powerful, and it becomes the main activity of your day. It's the most lovely thing you do for yourself, that spiritual practice. And because you have tapped into the initiatic current, there are ways to tap into the initiatic currents of your folk tradition, guys, hidden, and you must discover them. Fortunately enough, for me at least, I have tapped into the currents of many folk traditions throughout my life. One thing I do not like to do at all, and I never encourage people to do at all, is to never mix paths. Is to never mix paths. Is like you're trying to drink wine and vodka at the same table. Every drink has its own purpose at its own time, but don't try to, if a tradition is full option, if a tradition has everything you want, why go at another one? By saying this, I'm not actually rejecting the validity of the other tradition. But if you're in a relationship and you have just one partner, why go with another partner if that partner offers everything to you? This is exactly how folk tradition, how the traditions work also in the world. We cannot really speak about traditions. We cannot speak against traditions either. For someone to really connect to the initiatic current of a tradition, that someone must be really into it, really honest, really humble. Only humbleness brings you to the door of true initiation, and then you shut up. Then you enter that, you tap into the flow of that initiation, and that's it. It's hard to transmit, and it's something that, uh, most people in the world do not even realize that without true initiation, the path is really blocked for a person. The water is like drops of water, not the entire river. So yes, if someone wants to really evolve spiritually, they must tap into their ancestral path and dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is not an intellectual effort. This is not an effort of scholarship. This is an effort of the heart. The witches and magicians in my folk tradition, witches and Solomonari, were people of the heart. They were highly advanced in their witchcraft and magic, but also highly advanced in their goodness, humbleness, and they were people of the folk. They were initiates of the folk. Interesting enough, a lot of it has been conserved throughout the years, but it's not so obvious and it's hard to get to. But it is conserved, but it's hard to get to. If some of you guys who are not Romanian here on my channel would want to learn Romanian folk magic, it will be very hard because you need to get into the spirit of the thing. For example, if you come from outside, there is a certain vibe someone must have. And that is why when you go into a different tradition, it has a different egregore, a different perfume, which is okay to have. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not even be compatible. Go be compatible with your path. I'm compatible with my path. And there are also paths that are not compatible between themselves at all. At all, at all. Anyway, so with this being said, trying so many things throughout the years with seriosity, with not joking around. You know, here is the path. There is a good teacher. Let's see what is this about. Obviously, not everything runs smooth. Sometimes you fall, sometimes you raise up, sometimes you take a fall, sometimes you learn an important lesson, but sometimes you also gain a full pair of wings and fly towards a higher place, a higher state of mind, and whatnot. But everything is without any fruit if your ancestors, spiritual ancestors actually, are not happy with you. So you have a body. This body contains the karmas and loves and hates of thousands of generations behind you. How do you honor your body? This soul that entered your body, that has so many ancestors, has its own configuration, and this is why people ignore it. Not all souls are alike. Some souls are different than others. Some souls have different capacities, different developments, and even different different ways to adapt themselves to other traditions. Obviously, you can make an alien of your tradition work for you. I mean, if you want, if you're an European and you want to learn voodoo, with some effort, understanding, and a good mentor, you can tap into the initiatic current of that path. But it takes a lot of wisdom to do so. A lot of wisdom. And your ancestors may or may not like it, though. And that's a problem here. Okay? So, definitely, this path, this spiritual path, we like to think we walk on, sometimes has many traps, many subtleties, stuff that people can read. Stuff you will encounter people on your spiritual path that can look down on you, and you need to shut up. uh, in the spiritual path, if someone has a long-term experience, they also have very solidified thoughts and emotions about a thing, not easy to be flexible with in dialogue. But definitely, I have been blessed to encounter in this lifetime also mentors that really knew what they are doing. Still, still look for an example. I had a mentor. I will not give names, but still, because it was another tradition, and because there was a struggle for power after his death. Again, problems. So the only path that had no problems and issues for me and presented only good results and fruits, let's say, is the ancestral path. It's simply laughable, and probably that it's a laughable reality that even though you need to connect, and the highest benefit you have by tapping into your ancestral path, into your folk tradition, but the lineage, is there a lineage there, would many would ask, and the majority of people will not find the lineage anywhere, and they will find the lineage in the eastern traditions, perhaps. Not sure about that either. Many people claim to have lineages, but no. I have the true belief that a true lineage does exist in Eastern Europe of real folk witchcraft, and you can tap into the initiatic current of that folk witchcraft and path. With certain practices, you can do it. If it has a European background, definitely. Okay, so yes, it is possible. Yes, it differs from whatever other traditions are more detailed, let's say. Okay, but maybe your folkloric tradition is more simple, but in that simpleness there is a hidden power. Too complicated things lead you to loss of power. So there are techniques of such a simple nature that maybe only masters can really value sometimes. Okay, so guys, I'm not an universalist, I must say this. I do not believe all paths lead to the ultimate truth. Okay, I believe some paths are better than others, and I will not talk here about this. I do believe some paths are better than others, and I do believe the ultimate goal varies from tradition to tradition. Some want to attain the body of light, some want to attain godhood, some want to attain the ultimate realization and dissolve themselves in the great unknown. Yeah, so the ultimate goal differs quite much from path to path. Some want to attain a body of light that has at its end a very crystallized, highly crystallized form of individuality. That would be also my path, let's say. That is okay. This is what I encourage people to do. This requires a lot of shadow work, a lot of practice, and whatnot. So yeah, and let me explain something that is really important. Your teacher, for example, if someone comes to me and says, Raresh, I want to learn witchcraft from you. Would you be my teacher? I would say, let's see how this goes, man. Let's talk about and know each other a bit. And I would say, okay, it will take you a few years, but you need to do this and this and this practice. If I say, and I have done this, I had students in witchcraft, and I still have, actually. If I say, I'm giving you this teaching about this practice, I'm doing it. I'm always known for be very serious with my what I do. I mean, I have teach people certain runic practices in the past with witchcraft. Never did I once lacked in my time with them. I have always given extra time because that student or that apprentice or that person who wants to learn, in my eyes, it's a jewel. It's a special soul. It's, you must put in the knowledge. Yeah, it's an act of love. For example, if someone will wait for me, someone says, "Oh man, give me that ritual you said about it," and whatnot. I wouldn't be the guy to resist not giving it the ritual if I said I would. I'm a guy who sticks by my own word, and definitely if there is something that I can teach, I teach, and I'm not pulling the rug under your feet, postponing. I mean, think about this. Your motivation in the path of witchcraft, let's say, is rooted somehow in my behavior, right? Because you learn witchcraft from me, you learn folk spirituality from me, but I'm not as pretty serious with what I say, right? And then your motivation lacks. So upholding the tradition is a problem, because we also need teachers to uphold the tradition, and a level of seriousness, let's say, which this level of seriousness is extinct almost in today's world. Big names, big gurus, big masters, if you arrive to know them personally, then you know how it is. People who have learned with me, they have learned a lot. They can testify. I can call them to the camera. If they want to go, and if they go someplace else to learn anything, they will have a shock. Because the difference of seriousness is huge. It's huge. I never look down on anyone. Okay? So the problem is not only that the traditions are rather mixed and corrupted by official religions. Buddhists tried to uh, Buddhism integrated the shamanic faith. What did they do? Buddhism is the new official religion. Let's integrate, also known as let's kill the tradition by transforming it, quote unquote. Christianity and Abrahamic faiths all over Europe did the same. They encountered the folk tradition, or they integrated it, quote unquote, and there you go, poof, banished from existence. The pre-Zoroastrian and pre-Vedic faiths also were wiped out by Zoroastrians and Brahmins. All over the world, the folk traditions were invaded by the so-called official religions. Even Taoism adopted and absorbed the shamanic practices that had their own philosophy. This is the idea. So you have the shamanic practices in Taoism. Yes, nice. But even the shamanic practices they were taken from their shamanic context that had a different worldview, perhaps, than the official Taoist faith. Or you know what I mean? So you see, it was a universal, a global hijack of spiritual nature on the folk and spiritual paths of the folk, which were more simple, not so highly intellectualized like we like to think. The most powerful witches I have ever encountered in this lifetime were not scholars, but they could bend your head literally with looking with one eye at you. They could make the chair under your butt burn. Not scholars, not scholars, people with a deep root in the folk tradition. And when I'm saying folk tradition and when I'm saying witchcraft, I actually mean the real religion, the religion of the forest, the religion of the entities of the nature that were demonized in Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Christianity. There is a war in this the big religions have casted down a war and an anathema on the spirits of the nature, making them either look bad or something. Anyway, anyway, for example, I'm going to tell you a story of that I really, when I have heard this story about Rama, which is one of the main founders of the Hindu religion, I really started to understand even better that the official religions were actually the real ill doers. They are heroes because they remained in the stories. Probably their enemies are the real heroes, to be honest with you. So Rama, which is the main incarnation and avatar of Vishnu, they say this, but I don't believe this anymore. Once he has seen a person from a lower caste meditating, saying prayers. Rama was a Brahmin. And what did he do to the person in the lower caste? Because he caught him meditating. He killed him. Why? Because it was not permitted for a lower caste to enter heaven. If this is enlightenment, if this is religion, and this is from Ramayana, and this is what the Brahmins follow, and they say his name on the lips. So let's back down a bit, a few steps, and understand that the philosophical and worldview of the ancient folk religions has been ignored, and only bits and parts of their techniques have been absorbed in the new official religions of 3,000 years ago, 200 to 2,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 100 and 500 years ago, and whatnot. Okay? So, what I'm saying here, if someone finds a true path, a small path towards reconnecting with their ancestral faith, it is way better to do so than walk on alien ground for your soul. Definitely, I encourage everyone to respect everyone's religion and everyone's path. But I also encourage to find your own thing. This requires a lot of wisdom, definitely a bit of scholarship too. This is the path. A mentor, if possible, that would be great. I do not believe a path without the mentor can work out too well. There are special initiations that can be accessed, but at least you must know how to have a mentor a few years minimum. Someone that has never had any master or mentor in their entire life should not be eligible to teach, should not be eligible to have a microphone in their hands and speak like this, like I do right now. I do not consider myself a master. I can be a teacher on certain subjects of spiritual nature, definitely. And I have been for many people, but there were the master apprentice relationships were pretty intimate in terms of they asked a question, I replied in depth. I have seen the sincerity in the soul. I have given some special techniques. It was not a general type of generic relationship with the teacher. I always have been very personal, and that's why I have never had too many people to teach at once, ever. Okay, it is possible, but I believe in quality. Anyhow, if there are any questions or people want to add any questions, I'm free to answer now at the end of the live session. I have spoken my ideas. I hope they are welcomed, and I hope at least for one person, what I said now at the camera is a big eye opener. At least for one person. Okay, a small eye opener, at least. So if nobody wants to say anything, no problem. Share, like, and subscribe this video. Maybe it will help other people have eye openers. I know I had my own rude awakenings in occultism. I know it's not easy to find your path. I know it's complicated. People have egos. I know there are good intentions, but the means lack. I know someone can get entangled in ego, do stupid things anyway. So, I know this. But at the same time, we must remain loyal to the truth. To one practice, do not mix. Because if you mix, means that you feel what you do is not enough. And your path should have everything. Your path should not lack anything. Okay? Enjoy your day.